What is going on, my Atomic Autoworks friends? So today we're talking about something that's very common. We kind of don't talk about it because nobody wants to say anything and look like we're bad mouthing a company that we purchase stuff from. But this is a common thing and it happens all over the place. And most people, when you're doing it yourself, I always feel bad because you don't know if it's your install or something wrong with the product you got. It's a very tough thing because everybody gets in and they just assume they don't know what they're doing. And a lot of times it's actually a fault with the products that you have. You know, we have it all the time. You know, Derek ran into it with one of the motorcycles he's working on. Well, run into it all the time. People buy parts off of Amazon. They assume, oh, I can get this to work or I'll get this to fit. They don't understand that certain things you can't get to fix or get to work, and certain things you'd have to modify so much that you're better off buying a better quality part. And there's also just buying better quality parts sometimes from high-end manufacturers. You get bad stuff too. It's part of the business. So we're going to discuss it with this seat cover. I'm not going to say names, so don't ask me whose cover it is. It's no way are we trying to badmouth anybody. This happens. You know, stuff happens and it happens a lot. I've probably done 30 or 40 kits from this same company and really don't have a problem. It's just I'm using this as an example because it is a problem. So one funny thing is they actually trim the Savage off for you so that when your seat goes around, you do that so you don't get bumps on it. So you'll actually do that so you don't have bumps on it. Well, this one here, they trimmed the Savage off. However, we have to cut this off and resew it because whoever put this on, I don't know if you can see that there, the material goes out here. So someone was probably pulling the welt really tight or stretching the material. And when you do that, you look at it and it doesn't look bad here, but when you put it on, I don't know if I can because I have the seat cover off now. I already had this whole thing together, and then we had this, and when you pull it, what ends up happening, it does one of these numbers. So yeah, we could pull it this way, front to back, but the problem is this goes way out here, and it's just puckered up. So what I'm gonna have to do is cut this apart. Now, the reason that these people cut the Savage off for you is so that your welting doesn't get wobbly when it goes around. And ironically, when you cut the Savage off, if it was sewn wrong, now there's no material to sew to. So they really put us in a spot here because now we got to cut that and try to sew and we don't have much to go to. So it's not really, it doesn't help us out. You could also see where it's wobbly that there's actually a bunch of extra stitching, like someone went through and tried to correct some of this stuff. And I think in doing so, that's when they had the problem and over or under stretched something and made this mess. So we're gonna go through here and we're gonna take this apart and resew it, put it back together, and we'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Hopefully it looks really nice because this car is a beautiful car. We already did the back seats and they came out great. Just want to get these front seats done and then he can have his interior. As you can see here, we have this completely pulled apart. I ripped the seams apart, and what we're going to do is we're going to lay this down and make sure that it has a nice radius. You can see the material does go out a little bit, which is weird. And then we're going to just have our welting come around, keep it really relaxed, and sew these pieces together, and hopefully everything looks good. The pattern it looks like it's right, so we're gonna double check. We'll put this pattern on. What's really strange is my rule of thumb is pattern should always be relaxed, and this is not relaxed around this corner. It looks to me like nothing wants to line up, which could be a problem. I don't understand because it has to be the same pattern they've had forever. I am going to check the pattern on the other side because that side is fine. Compare it to this side and see what's going on with this. I went and made a pattern on the other side just so I could check to see if there's an issue. And they're pretty close. This seat here, it's about, well, it does come out here actually. You can see it comes out here. And if you could see, this is where the piping or the welt would be on the other side. And this is where it is on this side. So it's about 1/4 of an inch off, maybe a little bit bigger. This is, well, actually, this is probably 1/4 of an inch off this whole side. So this side is bigger than that side. So I'm gonna crisp up this radius a little bit, make it a nice transition. It's hard because they cut the Savage off, so you got a little bit of that going on, but you could see, if you follow the welt, you could see it bumps out right here. And this is the pattern, this is the edge from the other side. So the whole thing's bigger on this side, but that radius is definitely comes out too far. This should be a nice transition. So we're gonna adjust that and then resew it. I'm sewing the welt on, and you got to be careful with this because one, it was trimmed so it's really thin in spots. Two, you have to make sure you go through the holes on the top and the bottom. because if you don't and you have one on top, you're going to see that. And this is on the driver's side, which is always the biggest no-no you don't want. So we're going to take our time, and we're going to make sure we stitch this nice. And I'm not pulling at all. I got this piece just kind of relaxed. The welt is relaxed, and I'm just making sure it has a nice smooth transition. Our time, make sure this is folded, make sure it's relaxed. And it's hard when the Savage is cut on both sides and you're sewing this, you got to keep in mind that what you're worried about is the welt. You want that welt to have a nice smooth transition. If you follow the edge like you normally would, you're just going to be all over the place because this was cut. So I'm just kind of leaving this relaxed and trying to keep a nice radius, making sure that the holes that I'm sewing through are either exactly through the original holes or a little bit beyond so that they're not visible. Like it just, the welt wants to buckle up here. So it's definitely pulled. So I just want to keep it really, really relaxed here. And I'm also going to look and make sure that we have all of our holes are covered. We don't want any visible holes. Okay, so this looks nice and relaxed now. All right. No wobbliness. Now we can do the top. I'm going to sew this one on. We want to keep this nice and relaxed. That's there. Now let's make sure we don't have any holes, or we don't want any holes or thread. So this, right off the bat, looks a lot better. Okay, let's try it out and see how it looks. Now, one of the reasons why I'm showing you this, it's not just for you to do-it-yourselfers at home who get like nervous thinking that they messed something up. It's also for people who are paying a professional to do it. So when someone calls you up and says, hey, we ran into some issues, this is what they are, do you want us to fix it or not? You know that it's not as straightforward as you would think. Like you're not just throwing this perfect cover on that just slides on and there's no issues. Everything has issues, especially these days. There's a lot of problems. Watch. Derek. Here, I got a microphone so you have to hold it. What does Derek think about aftermarket parts, Amazon parts?
Absolute garbage. They're so cheap because they are cheap. That's the truth. I hate using them. And unfortunately, sometimes I'm forced to. It's nothing like the original.
I feel awkwardly close right now. So anyway, Derek just ran into a problem with the bikes he was doing, people buying aftermarket parts. Well, even the tire issue, you know, people buying parts generally for themselves, you know, they go and they buy tires and then Derek gets them in and they're like, hey, they're bad tires. You know, they're worn down already. They're past the indicator mark and you can't use them. So that's why a lot of times you end up going to a professional to have stuff done because they know these things. So I know that we're going to put this back together right now. And I don't think I'm going to bore you with hog-ringing it together. So I'm just going to make sure we're putting this on. Now I'm going to put the Savage, make sure the Savage is facing down all the way around. We're on our edge, we're going to pull this so it's nice and tight over here. Roll it around. Okay, so we're already looking 1,000 times better here. This here, I don't know why, I think it's because of the changing of the materials. They had an issue where when they sewed it, it just puckers up, but that comes out. Okay, so let's get this together and try it out. So you can see here, right out of the gate, it's already a lot better than it was just by relaxing the welt around the corner. It took away a lot of that bumpiness. It's still a little bit there because the material's fatigued, so I'm just gonna go in and we could just kind of work it, kind of put it where we need to put it. And we could heat it up a little bit and that'll also relax a little bit with the heat gun. The whole point of this video was just to show people that, one, if you're doing it at home and problems arise, you should know the difference between bad work quality that you're doing and problems with the kit or product that you purchase. And again, that's where some of the professionalism helps, because we see it every day, so we kind of know. So don't beat yourself up a lot of times, because sometimes it isn't you, but also when you go to a shop and they say there's a problem that needs to be fixed, you know that sometimes things like this have to be done. It's not just as easy as put it on and go. Thanks for watching the video. Please remember, like, share, follow, subscribe, ring the bell. Thank you.